All right, wonderful. Very nice to be with you all this afternoon. My name is Sarah West, and my pronouns are she and her, and I am the Executive Assistant at the Fulbright Commission in Ireland. So just bear with me while I switch my screen. One second. I'm going to take you through a presentation outlining some of, as Rowan said, the nitty-gritty about the Fulbright program. So can you see my screen okay? Thumbs up.
No.
All right, great. Okay. So a bit of history about the Fulbright program. It started in 1946 in the United States, and Ireland joined in 1957. And the Fulbright Commission in Ireland was officially set up in 1991. And to date, there are 180 countries plus in the program. So what exactly is Fulbright and what are the opportunities? There are awards available for students, scholars, artists, teachers, professionals from across the disciplines to go and research, study, teach, and lecture in the United States. So what do these awards provide? They provide not only a monetary grant, but the administration of your visa to go over to the States, accident and emergency insurance, programming culturally and professionally, and ongoing support and links to a whole network of Fulbright alumni, not just from Ireland going to the States, but from all the other countries that are involved in the program. And that will connect you to a lifelong family of Fulbrighters. Once a Fulbrighter, always a Fulbrighter. And this community of peers will then be global, and you'll be connected in with Fulbrighters from nations around the world. And today joining us, we have Kate Birmingham, who did her award back in 2019. And after we go through this presentation, she'll be able to share firsthand with you what her experience was like. And her details are here. Speaking with alumni is a fabulous way to start to tease out what your Fulbright application could be like. And we'll go more into that. And on your campus at UCD, you also have a Fulbright campus ambassador, Francesco Pila, and his details are here as well. He sends his apologies, he can't be with us this evening, but he will be also a point of contact for you for any Fulbright related questions, as well as all of us here at the Commission. So the first step is to establish your eligibility if you can apply for a Fulbright award. So our Irish awards are open to Irish and EU citizens who have 3 years or more residency in Ireland. And then you'll need to demonstrate with your application a strong rationale for why you specifically need to go to the United States for your project. And with that, you go to the States to do your project, but that means you have to come back to Ireland. This exchange here with Fulbright, part of the visa requirement is a 2-year home rule. So once you go to the States to do your project, you're required to come back to Ireland for a minimum of 2 years. US and Irish dual citizens are not eligible to apply, and you can't be living in the United States at the time of your application. Nor can you have recent extensive experience of studying or living in the US. Preference is given to those who do not have extensive experience working or studying in the United States. So the application, sorry, here, just a few wonderful quotes about the application process itself. Some have felt that it's just a very valuable exercise to go through because it takes not only into account your academic expertise, but really makes you think about who you are as a person and the way that you're positioned in this concept of global cultural exchange. So what does the application timeline actually look like? Applications open in August and they close in October. Then reviews of applications are held in November through December. And if a review is successful, then you're called into interview in January through February, and offers for the awards are made in March. So then what can you do right now? You can start reviewing the information on our website. Everything you would want to know is there. There's an FAQ section. So looking through there, checking out our other webinars, you can really start to tease out information. And then if you have specific questions that you didn't get answers to from there, you can contact us, start networking with alumni, choose an award that seems suited to you, build your proposal or find your course related to it. And then what makes a Fulbright application so unique is that you have to focus on the ethos of Fulbright, what it actually means to be a Fulbrighter, and get that threaded through your application. So through our website and talking with alumni, you can really get a flavor for what it means to be a Fulbrighter through cultural leadership elements of exchange, really what you have to offer going specifically to the US, and then what you'll bring home here to Ireland. And then you can register your interest with us when we open up our launch, and we'll be able to liaise with you about the application forms and so on. So that's kind of an overview there of the timeline. And so then what types of awards are actually available? What are the categories that people would fall into in terms of trying to make an application? We have the Irish Student Awards, and those are for people who want to do postgraduate research in the US or a postgraduate degree program. Then there's the Irish Scholar Awards that are for academic lecturing or research or professional research and lecturing. Then there's the Irish Tech Impact Awards, which have a specific focus on ICT, and they're as well both for professionals and academics. Then there's the Irish Language Foreign Language Teaching Assistantships, the FLTA Awards, and those are to go over to the US to teach the Irish language, as well as take courses at an American university. And then there's the Fulbright Schumann Awards that are run by the Belgian Commission, and they are also available to Irish and EU citizens for academic or professional study, research, and lecturing. So for the student awards, these would run for a duration of anywhere from 4 to 12 months with a maximum of award of €30,000. And these are for degree-seeking students and visiting researchers. You'd establish affiliation with a US university or apply to a degree course at that US institution. And we'll go into more detail about all this in a few slides. With the Scholar Awards, these are as well from 3 to 12 months in duration, maximum award of €5,000. And for these, you must possess a PhD or 5 years relevant professional experience to go and teach or research in the US. And you must establish affiliation as well with a US institution. Then with the Tech Impact Scholar Awards, again, these are for scholars and professionals who have an ICT focus or think that an ICT focus would be useful to their research specifically. And again, you have to have a PhD or 3 to 5 years of relevant professional experience. And for these awards, the preference is given to those who are in their early careers as researchers who have PhDs conferred since 2019. And again, this is for non-commercial research exploring the transformative power of ICT. And these are for a shorter period of time as well. It's important to note, from 2 weeks to 3 months for a maximum award of €11,000. And with the FLTA awards, again, this is to teach or take classes at a designated US college. And the stipend for this would cover your room, board, tuition fees, give you a stipend as well, and cover any travel or programming in the US. And to apply for the FLTA awards, you have to have a bachelor's degree, teaching experience, and fluency in the Irish language. And unlike the other awards where you'd seek out an affiliation, these awards, you make your application and then you're assigned to an institution. You'd be paired off with an institution if you're successful in your application. And these awards will be for a maximum of 10 months in duration. And then we have specific awards that are set up with different partners with the Fulbright Commission. And these targeted awards are specifically in areas from creative arts, environment, cybersecurity. And so you could apply more generally to the Fulbright All Disciplines pool of awards, or if you take the time to research through any of these partnerships, you have an opportunity to go into collaboration here through a sponsored award. So researching our flyers on our websites with the links to these specific sponsored awards, you have an opportunity to do your award with this sponsored relationship and get to know kind of what their strategy is. And if it links in with your research, it could be another avenue to take. And this has a separate pool, which most people might be thinking, oh, all disciplines, I'll do that. But if you take the time to check out these partners, there's a lot of opportunity there as well. So just an overview here of our awards, which you'll find as well on our website. For students and scholars, the Enterprise Ireland Innovation and Business Award is available for both those categories as well. The EPA Award in Water, Climate Change, Sustainable Environment, and the Geoscience, the GSI Award. And then you'll see student and scholar awards broken down here. Student only in the Creative Ireland Museum Fellowships, the LLM Awards in Law, the Chagas Award in Agriculture, Forestry, and Food. And then for scholars, we have the HRB Health Impact Award for health professionals, the NUI Scholar Award for early career postdocs, again, a Creative Ireland Scholar Fellowship, For professionals, the Tech Impact Award for the short-term research with an ICT focus, and a Tech Impact Award at Boston College, specifically for cybersecurity. So more info about all these is listed on our website. And so what are the application requirements? You'll have to provide personal information and your CV. And then what's unique about a Fulbright application is your Fulbright statement, a personal statement, which is different from a lot of maybe research and university applications that are purely academic and research driven. But again, this is about Fulbright being a cultural exchange, and that we invest in people and the exchange of ideas. So really showing us not what's in your research or on your CV, but just who you are as a person. And if you're not sure if Fulbright is right for you, check in with us, check in with alumni, and this is an opportunity to tell us everything that's not on your CV or not in your proposal, who you are as a person. And then, of course, your project statement, the actual work that you're going to want to do. You'll need 3 letters of recommendation, your transcripts if you're applying as a student, copy of your passport, some admin, and samples of your work if you are an artist, as well as a letter affiliation if you've established that formally, sending on your letter or your application. So then in terms of preparing your application, thinking about your project proposal, why your work is groundbreaking, and specifically with this Fulbright Award, why you need to go to the US, why there's something at that specific institution or with that specific person or technology that you need, and that exchange is valuable and needs to happen. Then explaining kind of the areas you're going to concentrate in, your research question, and structuring around your objectives, methodologies, and expected results. And thinking then more broadly, again, with the idea of cultural exchange, the impact that this might have, not only in your specific field, your area of research, but maybe your career and community at large. So then the personal statement. Again, like I was saying, this is a time to talk about you personally. And how that relates to your work, the human behind the paper here, your ambitions, your motivations, anything that makes you, that will bring that personal aspect to the work, what you hope to achieve in the United States, and then when you link back to Ireland. And again, bringing in the ideas and language around what it means to be a Fulbrighter. Not to rehash your CV and list off that again, because we'll have that, but the chance to tell us anything else that paints that fuller picture. So then with that, thinking that Fulbright is about cultural exchange and investing in people, we really do welcome people from all different types of backgrounds, and especially people from underrepresented communities, areas of research, different HEIs, geographical regions, ethnicities, and abilities. And Fulbright globally has different kind of collectives that support and foster communities who've been typically underrepresented in Fulbright, higher ed, and research globally. And these are just a few of the logos from some of the groups. And we have more information about inclusion and equity steps on our website at fulbright.ie. So yeah, that's just a little more on those things. Here, we're talking about the next step to like find your host and figure out where you're going and what are you doing. So the best place to start is thinking about who are the experts in your field and where you want to do your work. And again, it might not be at the big names that you hear about necessarily in your field or in US higher ed generally. We welcome even the smallest colleges, the most obscure network, wherever you feel like you need to go, we would support you in putting that application together. Reaching out to alumni in the US and in Ireland to begin to foster those communications, looking to our sponsors, talking with your mentors, or looking to a specific degree program or institution. So then just going through a few of the awards, talking about the Fulbright Creative Ireland Museum Fellowships. And these are opportunities for the student category only. 3 different institutions, the Harry Ransom Center, the Exploratorium, or the Smithsonian offer partnerships. So for these, you'd need to seek out a letter of support and include that in your application, and note in the flyers the different criteria for each of those awards. And if you're interested in law, we already have 3 partnerships set up for LLM awards in the United States, one with Indiana University's Maurer School of Law, one with Notre Dame, and one with Penn. So if you're interested in, and these offer fee waivers, full or partial. If you're interested in setting up a similar type of partnership, you can get in touch if you're interested in a different school. And with the associate awards, we have two here, one with Florida Poly STEM, a graduate assistantship for a master's degree or graduate assistantship in STEM programming. Then that includes direct payment for services such as teaching or research assistantship and tuition support. And with University of Southern California for an MSc or PhD, the MSc is in engineering or computer science with a partial tuition waiver for the MSc. And then the PhD program in engineering or computer science, and that offers full financial support. So once you've decided to make your application and you put it in, you'll go through a review process. Your application will be reviewed. And you can see here the sizes of the box. The academic record and project statement at the review stage is a larger portion than the cultural engagement and leadership aspect. However, once you're successful in your review, that cultural engagement and leadership piece becomes quite large at your interview, where we've looked at your academic record and your project nitty-gritty things, and now we really want to see you and talk to you and know who you are beyond what's on the page and in your research. And so then just separately from the Fulbright Awards process, typically the Schumann Awards, again, I mentioned were run by the Belgian Commission. So they have a different application process that's co-funded with the EU related to policies and EU affairs. There's awards for postdoctoral research, as well as pre-doctoral research. International educators will be matched with a US institution for this type of award. And these awards are focusing on the research intersection of technology and policy. And these are open to applicants from all EU member states as well. And to apply and find out more about these, the website's there, fulbrightschumann.eu, and they open in December. And then just to give you a perspective of the other side of things about how Americans would come over to Ireland, these are the categories that US folks would fall into. The student awards, again, for coming to Ireland to do postgrad research or a degree. The scholars coming from the US to do professional research and lecturing. US specialists coming over for a shorter period of time. And I'll talk about it in a minute. If you're at an institution and you're interested in hosting someone, you can talk to us about setting up a partnership and getting someone over. Then there's the Global Scholar Awards with academics or professionals going to one or more countries. And then again, the Schumann Awards on the US side coming to an EU, one or more EU country. So yes, if you're interested in hosting a specialist for a short-term task and partnership, we have about 5 per year come to Ireland to address critical priorities. An institution would then apply directly to the commission to seek a specialist, and they stay for about 2 to 6 weeks. These applications open in June through September for the 2022 year visit, and there's a roster of specialists available. You can pick someone from this list of experts, or you can also invite someone that you have in mind. And just to highlight here on the left, you'll see this awards available to US students who want to come over to Ireland, and the different sponsors that host them. UCD there, DCU, our CSI, Dublin, the Hugh Lane. And then on the right, you'll see the Scholar Awards and all the other institutions that sponsor US scholars to come over here. So if you're interested in setting up any type of partnership, you could let us know. So next steps, you can start thinking about what recommenders you want to get in touch with. Think about why you need to go to the US, your specific area based on experts in your field, talking to alumni, researching really what it means to be a Fulbrighter. And you can get more info on that on our website and social media. And any questions you have that aren't answered through the information you come in contact on our website, you can email us at awards@fulbright.ie. So with that, I will turn it over to Kate here to share with you her firsthand experience of being a Fulbrighter. So Kate, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was lucky enough to receive a Fulbright Chagas Award in 2019. So I was doing my PhD in UCD, and I work in, I suppose, nutrition and metabolism background kind of. And I kind of identified a research area that was, there was a specialist in Davis, California, that was doing some really novel kind of analysis there. And I work in twin research, so I kind of had, a novel data, a novel skill set, and I thought the analysis taking place over there would be really, really interesting. So I approached the supervisor, and, combining the strengths of the twin research and his, really unique profiling made for a really interesting project. So the Chagas, the Fulbright Chagas Award allowed me to research in the USDA, so the Department of Agriculture, in the Western Human Nutrition Research Center in Davis, California for 4 months. So actually important to note was I applied the first year and I was unsuccessful in my application. But I received some really great feedback from Fulbright, and I reapplied the next year and I was successful. So I'd encourage anyone, if you're not successful the first time around, definitely reapply. It's well worth it. So I suppose when I went to Davis then, it was a brilliant opportunity to kind of jump into a new research group, and carry out some really, really interesting research. So I was part of Professor Newman's lab, and I carried out the work, and I got to meet his team, and I learned all of these new amazing skills. And we, carried out really great research, which we have come back, and I'm still collaborating with them today. And we have kind of just published or submitted a really interesting paper there. But outside, I suppose, out of the pure academia, which is the research proposal, as Sarah said, is important kind of for the first, getting past the first hurdle there. But after that, there's so much more. It was a brilliant opportunity to go over and live in Davis, California, which if for those of you who don't know, it's really close to Sacramento and near San Francisco. So it was, I got loads of opportunities to travel while I was there. So I went to Yosemite 2 or 3 times. I went to Napa. I was in San Francisco at the weekends. I took every opportunity to go anywhere and see new places. It was amazing. And then in Davis, in the working community, everyone was really, really welcoming. It was such a nice opportunity. They kind of doors opened. I got the opportunity to present regularly. And they had really nice events. There was a cultural diversity one I went to, and people from all over kind of baked and cooked items that were, from their families and from their houses. And of course, I made brown bread and Delia Smith scones for that one, which everyone loved. I found some Kerrygold butter as well. And then I suppose in Davis, I just took every opportunity to go to different events. I went to theaters, I joined sports clubs, I went to football games and baseball games. It was brilliant. And the 4 months flew by. I definitely wish that I could have applied for longer, but I was in the final year of my PhD, so I had to come back to finish up. But as Sarah said, it's, Fulbright, it doesn't end when you come back from the States. I continue to collaborate with the people that I met and my colleagues over there, which is brilliant. I met some really amazing people. And then, I met some great people through Fulbright as well, all the people that got the awards that year. I met all those people, and the Fulbright Alumni Association do regular events, which are ongoing. And now I really try and encourage as many people as possible to, apply, look into it, try find something interesting that you'd love to do. And then come back and you bring back the skill set that you've developed there and the people that you've met there, and you have these lifelong connections, which is absolutely amazing. So yeah, I can't, I suppose, speak more positively than about my experience. I encourage everyone to do it, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone would have.
Thanks a million, Kate, for all your insights there. So there's any just the last chance to ask any questions there. Sonia, could you kind of maybe talk about the 2-year home rule? Because I know some people struggle with understanding that one. So if you want to describe that a little bit to people.
Hi, yeah. So it's inbuilt into Fulbright, and it's a global rule. So anyone going on a Fulbright to the US in your T's and C's, you sign in the 2-year home rule, which means that because the whole idea is it's a cultural exchange. So you go to the US, you learn something and you bring it back here to Ireland, or we consider the 2-year home rule can be fulfilled in the EU as well as Ireland at this time. So you could go to France for a year, you could be in Ireland for a year, then you go to Germany for a year, you know, so it's cumulative as well. Now, some people might come home for a year and go to Australia for a year and then come back and spend another year in Ireland. So again, they add up the time. They'll just want you to prove it that you've fulfilled the 2-year over. It could be over 5 years, you know what I mean? But they want to see that fulfilled in some way. So it's definitely worth thinking about if people are thinking of applying. Like, it's not a way, Fulbright wouldn't be a way of staying in the US. I mean, if you're going over to do a PhD, obviously you can stay for the duration of your PhD and maybe some additional time for, I don't know, research, etc. But the expectation is that you do come home. So it's not a way to enter the US and stay in the US and get a job, etc. That just doesn't happen. In the past, we've actually had Fulbrighters who've met their life partners in the US, and unfortunately they still have to return to Ireland to fulfill the 2-year home rule, and then get married and then go back to the US. So it's definitely worth thinking about if you see your life in the US at any stage in the future, that 2-year home rule does apply.
Okay. And this one for Kate, someone has asked, what do you think made the difference between your first and second application? I think you're on.
Yeah, I suppose I think personally I got maybe a little bit bogged down in the kind of academia side first time round. It's obviously a huge component of the application, but it's important to really, you know, realize what the purpose of Fulbright is and how you as a person are going to kind of contribute to the ethos and the goals of Fulbright. So I think that was the feedback I received, and it was kind of not a major amount of work went into changing the application. It was just more kind of pulling those themes throughout the application that I'd already made. That's what made the difference for me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, I had the kind of pleasure of sitting in on some of the interviews this year, and that was one thing that, like, I was surprised at, and I probably shouldn't have been, that it was the academic stuff is looked after quite a lot in the review stage, and then you jump into the interview, and I was like, God, they're asking so many just like not you know, personal questions, just like, you know, who are you as a person, rather than, you know, they talked briefly about their research, but that, you know, the box was ticked on that, the research was solid and an expert had looked at that, and it was very much like, you know, what do you do? You know, what do you do? Do you play football? Do you play hurling? You know, all of these things, you know, what's your kind of cultural exchange, which was like, oh, it was quite refreshing, but it's something to be prepared for. Because I know, you know, going for a job interview, they may not ask these things, or maybe going for some other granting authority, they may not ask this type of thing. So it's something to kind of note if you are applying, that will be asked.
Yeah, I just say, to reiterate that, I suppose if you're lucky enough to get to the interview stage, it's an elevator pitch, the research proposal, because you're talking to non-experts in your field. So you really need to just give that elevator pitch of what your plan is in the US, because they know the technical review has happened, and you're obviously ticked all those boxes. So it is that whole thing about you and Fulbright. It's all about Fulbright. What can you bring to Fulbright? What qualities that you have would work as a Fulbrighter? What can you do? What else can you do in the US apart from the academic side of things, and what you can do when you come back here to Ireland to fulfill that? So I mean, it's really important, and it's funny sometimes people don't like impart that much. They don't, because it's unique in that kind of funding sphere, that academic funding sphere, because, you know, it's usually your proposal. It's not that element about you and talk about you and market yourself. Like, it's kind of a marketing tool, you know, in some respects. And we're probably not very good at that at Irish people. So, but, you know, just, it's definitely worth spending a lot of time on that Fulbright statement and thinking a lot about it. And then if you are lucky enough to get to interview, to kind of explore that as well.
So we had a question in there, and this one's to Kate as well. Just wondering if you learned the skills over there to bring home for your project, or did you get to bring your own research with you and work in the lab, such as bringing your own data and samples, etc.?
Yeah, so I suppose for my background, I had collected twin samples in Ireland, which were quite novel samples. And I brought the samples over, and the skills that I learned over there were the really novel kind of analysis. So I was able to be taught that and trained up on that in the lab in America. And I carried out that analysis there with them. And then I was able to come back then with my data, and I suppose that all of the kind of knowledge to run that sample, those samples and the analysis, and I brought that back to UCD and to Ireland. So it was kind of I suppose kind of a marrying of strengths in some ways. So I had the kind of twin element, and then they had these really novel processing techniques that I wanted to learn, and we combined them together. That's what I got to bring home. But yeah, I did bring over initially the samples.
Perfect. Well, thanks a million, Sarah, for another amazing presentation. Thanks, Sonia, for looking after questions, and Kate, thank you for your time and answering all those questions. It was really insightful. So I will be sending on the video and presentation just shortly after this, so you can have a look through there. So there was a slide, and it mentioned all the steps you can take. So, you know, we have a long weekend coming up. Don't just leave today and go, oh yeah, Fulbright's nice, maybe I'll look at that. Do a couple of those steps this weekend, you know, get the ball rolling on it, and you're much more likely to apply then. So keep an eye on our social media, have a look on the website. The application's open in August, I believe. So we hope to receive many of your applications, and best of luck.